I want to show you what, out of the top 10 books that are for sale right now, how many of them are conservative history books or written by a conservative? You have Krauthammer, you have Rush Limbaugh.
You have you.
Me, Brian Kilmeade, Bill O'Reilly.
Yep.
That's 5 of the top 10.
Yeah, the rest are either one's a pop singer, there's some stories in there. One's a cookbook.
One's Diary of the Wimpy Kid. So there's 3. What else is left? Doris Kearns Goodwin,
and that's
which is
the
another...
only thing that cracks the top 10 that could be considered, by a liberal.
Yeah, and that's history. And that's history.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to point this out because I think this is really good news. This shows what America is consuming. What is it that we're doing? Now, nobody in the mainstream media, remember this, think of this. Nobody in the mainstream media is doing American history. Nobody in the mainstream media is talking about American history. Nobody is producing this stuff on television. You're not seeing the movies being made. Look at the appetite for real American history. Look at the appetite for conservative views. When I first made my first book deal with Simon & Schuster, they said and this literal, and it was not Simon & Schuster alone, it was all of them. Conservatives don't read. Now, where did that come from? Conservatives don't read? How is that even possible?
Well, because they were stupid. Conservatives were stupid,
right,
and they were ill-informed,
and they don't read. And it allowed people to say, well, conservatives don't read, and so we don't have to make any books for them. So it was all dominated by lefties. So what happens? Rush Limbaugh, he comes out with his big book in the, the 80s? Late 80s, early 90s?
90s, yeah.
And he comes out with his big book. But then it was, well, that's just Rush. That's just Rush. So in the 2000s, 2003 or so, I get my first book deal, and everyone is saying, nobody reads. No conservatives read. So our first book comes out, and it did okay. And then our next book comes out, does really good. Now you're starting to see others as well, not just us, but others as well starting to release books and do well. We get our first contract from Simon & Schuster that is the same as Stephen King's. We can now publish people that we deem fit to be published. Now, when in your wildest dreams would you think that a Brian Kilmeade book, and I say this because look at all of the other books from the hosts like Joe Scarborough. How many books do you think Joe Scarborough is going to sell?
7.
He's got his new book out.
7 the first week.
I'll bet you under 5,000. I'll bet you way under 5,000, maybe under 1,000 books.
Oh, yeah.
And he's been everywhere. Look, who are some of the others?
Piers Morgan.
Piers Morgan. How many books did Piers Morgan sell?
We can't disclose that, of course.
But it's very minimal.
Very minimal.
It's unbelievably minimal.
Is it under 1,000?
I cannot talk about the specific numbers, but what I can say is that absolutely no one in this audience would guess the number. It's that low. I would say, if you're guessing now that I'm telling you it's low, maybe you would. But if you guessed honestly, no one in the audience would believe how low it is.
Well,
it is absolutely...
Everybody, hang on just a second. Everybody turn off your mic and tell me that. And turn the camera off of Stu so he can tell me.
We're doing first week numbers here?
Yeah. Hang on, just because first week is the biggest week.
First and second week.
So hang on just a second. Hold on just a second. Turn off, everybody turn off your mics. Stu's going to give you the number. Hang on just a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, my gosh. Oh my.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, that's
really bad. Really bad.
I mean,
when you take into consideration the guy is a national talk show host, a nationally carried television talk show host,
and sell more.
And not to mention, he was not only does he have his own show,
everywhere.
He was everywhere. He was on late night shows. He was on major radio shows. He did the entire circuit
selling the book.
Well, you know what that is? Liberals don't read.
Well, that would be the natural assumption, wouldn't it?
Liberals just don't read.
Yeah,
it could also be that no one cares about Piers Morgan.
Yeah, so that's the deal.
I'd rather go with liberals don't read.
Yeah, well, but that's what they would
stupid.
do. That's what they would do. That liberals just don't read.
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to bring you the news today that if you look Out of the top 10 on Amazon, 5 of them are conservative. Only 1 could be considered a liberal book, and that's Doris Kearns Goodwin, and that is history. And if you look at the topics, you look at Brian Kilmeade, that's George Washington's Secret Six. That is a great book. Mm-hmm. You look at mine, Miracles and Massacres. That is all about American history and the stories that you didn't know.
Rush's book is American history.
Rush's book is American history. Bill O'Reilly's book is history. Hello? Mm-hmm. What does this tell me? This tells me that the market is wide open, that conservatives now are dominating the book world, and that's got to be driving people crazy. And the good news is, here's the really good news. Technology is now allowing people from any walk of life, left, right, doesn't matter, any walk of life, to be able to publish their own books. You'll be able to get it in front of people, and you don't need the big publishing houses anymore. So their reign is over. And even in their reign, the liberal bias is over. And as technology in the next few years becomes even easier for people to use and easier for people to self-publish, look at that book by Srini Rao. The book now, he's just published it in a soft cover, but The Art of Being Unmistakable. It's now available in soft cover. He printed it only for Kindle, and I read it, and I thought, this is a book that everybody should read. This is a book, if you're an entrepreneur, everybody should read Srini Rao's book, The Art of Being Unmistakable. Well, he self-published online. I found it as a Kindle book. Well, it became so popular, but now that you can buy it in paperback, because the people demanded it. The people started buying enough of them to where the publishing houses said, you know what, we have to publish this book. Never before in human history. Now, let me tell you another story. What's his name, Mehmet? David Mehmet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I just heard this story this morning.
The playwright.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He wrote a book, or he wrote a play, and I don't know anything about this story. This is just something that one of the guys in the meeting told me this morning. That he wrote a book, or wrote a play for Broadway, and he's a big playwright. And he's the guy who has just come out as a conservative here, 3 years ago or so? We had him on the show. And he's a guy he's a Hollywood guy and a huge playwright. So he writes a play, and this time he starts telling the truth about conservatives and, liberals and having everybody in here. But it's, a very Ayn Rand kind of look at the world. So what does the New York Times do? Just like, if I can remember his name, Toohey in Ayn Rand's Fountainhead, where he was the elite architect. He was the reviewer for the paper. Just like that, they have taken Mehmet and they have tried to teach him a lesson, and they basically closed his show. They panned it so hard that nobody went to see his show. They're teaching him a lesson. You're not going to step out of line. You will do it exactly as we say. But I've got news for you. Those days are numbered as well. The days where Broadway and playwrights and acting and everything else were dominated by the left, and the left had all of that, are over. The days are numbered. The same thing with television. The days are numbered. We're working on some things here, and we're not the only ones, but we're working on some things here at the Blaze. I talked to some people last night, and they said, oh my gosh, Glenn, that's a game changer. I said, I know. Soon, game-changing things are coming for television, for movies, for plays, and we've already done it. And when I say we, I don't mean me and my staff. I mean we as Americans, we as conservatives have just changed the book world. Look at the top 5 or the top 10 on Amazon.com. Look at them. I've never seen it before. Have you ever seen that, Stu? Have you ever seen that, Pat?
No.
And if you only knew the number of copies that...
I may or may not have information on the Scarborough book sales.
You may or may not.
I may or may not. So you don't know either way. It could go either way.
Can you give me I'm assuming that you don't. Turn off. Everybody turn off your
turn
mic.
the
Off your microphone. Okay, hang on just a second. Hang on.
Oh, man.
Wow. That's
amazing.
It's an absolute amazing. I wish we could give you these numbers, but they're secret. They're secret
I
numbers.
wish to.
Oh, yeah.
I wish to. If I released a book of my sketches on the back of papers during the show, they would sell more than these books.
Well, they would.
They would.
They would.
I think the audience would do it out of spite to them.
Our worst book ever sold tens of thousands more. And we felt like we are such losers. These guys, how do they not go home?
I mean, I don't know why they're even doing it.
I don't know why they'd write a book again.
Do it?
Ever.
Never.
Why would you write a book?
It'd be
honestly,
embarrassing.
how are you not on Xanax? Because wouldn't you feel like
nobody
cares. Nobody cares. These numbers are so shocking. Honestly, I could sell more in my neighborhood. I'm not kidding you. I could go door to door on foot in my neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not making
Not your
that
whole
up.
town.
Not my town.
No.
My neighborhood. I'm not kidding you. That's how bad these numbers are. I'm not kidding you. So, gang.
And there aren't even as many people in your neighborhood.
And here's it.
So
they'd have to all buy multiple
I
copies.
might have to go to another neighborhood because you're right, Pat. There aren't that many people. Okay, so let me just wrap it up with this. One more piece of good news. If you look at that top 10, the only one that is not about history, that are the 5 out of the top 10 that are conservative, the only one that's not about history is Krauthammer. And Krauthammer is really just about perspective. I mean, Krauthammer is a genius, but he's just about perspective. The other 4 are about history. Do you know how good that is? I will tell you that this country, and we've said it forever, will be lost if we don't know history. It will be lost if we don't have a handle on what our true history is. While the progressives are trying to change it through Common Core and through the universities, we are learning our own history. Please make sure that you pass this on to the youth. I don't care which one of those you buy. You know, obviously ours is called Miracles and Massacres, and it was written for you who love the flag and say, rah, rah, USA, and think that we can do nothing wrong. And I know you don't feel that way. You've learned far too much. But for those people, they will be shocked at what they read in this book. And so will the people who think that we're just nothing but a bad country. You will be shocked at the true story of America. It's both good and bad. It's both a miracle and a massacre. You can find it and share it with as many people as you can at Amazon or Barnes & Noble, wherever books are sold.